He's recording. Welcome to another edition of...
Wait,
What?
Consensus on Reality? We're going to do it twice?
Stop. Yeah, we're re-recording the whole podcast. Just kidding. Before we get to tonight's episode, check out patreon.com/consensusunreality for our full 6-year episode archive.
I think it is 6 years now. I think we might have actually passed the threshold into 6.
Into the unknown. Yes, if you've been paying attention, our public platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and all of that only contain a mere fraction of our episodes. Our full episode archive and ongoing 2 exclusive episodes a month are hosted on patreon.com/consensusunreality. You can also get access to our printed Journal of Shells magazine, which gets mailed to your doorstep or mailbox.
Oh, yeah. Soon, too. Volume 8 has been printed.
That's right.
And it'll be off in the mail before you know it.
Right. So sign up now to secure a copy. It's the only place you can get it. And we send cool other printed and recorded materials along with that. It contains archival texts as well as curated submissions from writers and researchers and writings by ourselves and original artwork. All of that and more at patreon.com/consensusunreality. Now enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening.
Consensus Unreality.
I didn't hit the button yet. Welcome to another edition of Consensus Unreality. My name is David, and I'm joined by Ben.
That sucks.
My co-host and assistant, Ben.
I'm not your assistant. I don't have to.
I know, you don't do enough to be the assistant. We've got a doozy of an episode
You're
here.
like smiling when you talk for like, you learn that in like a podcaster book.
It's not a video podcast. What would it matter?
Smile when you talk, people can hear it.
See, now it sounds like you learned something. And you just sound happy. There's a summer breeze in your voice because you bought all these little books.
I did. I bought a lot of little books. We're here today to talk about Jack Parsons' Backrooms. Kane Parsons.
I was going to say, we've done enough Jack Parsons for 5 years.
That's probably true.
Maybe not. I don't know. Parsons is kind of the gift that keeps on giving. But no, we are here to talk about Backrooms and one of your favorites, Eugenia Macer-Story, a strange web of synchronicity concerning some writings which Eugenia Macer-Story has done, some of which published by the good Apport Books Press. Is that the name?
Apport Editions.
Apport Editions.
Apport Books Press. Shut up. Yeah, I guess it's kind of funny that you kind of came back around to it. Yeah, I did a little tiny edition of the Captain Midnight transmissions, which is a story in one of her now impossible to find books called Troll. It's a little private edition for my friends, and it's got some really wild stuff in there, and it'll be fun to talk about the time police, etc.
Yeah, for sure. Very interesting. She expands a bit on her experiences in Manhattan and also with the Jefferson market. And I think it's cool because there's, countless reaction, YouTube and other podcasts, TikToks about Backrooms, getting into the lore.
Yeah.
Getting into the lore.
Did you watch the original his short series on YouTube that it's based on?
Yeah, I've caught some of it. And
it's quite good. He's good.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's, if you want to talk about, let's start by talking about our opinions of the movie, because I did have a very strange realization of a weird web of synchronicity that I think is pretty interesting and unique. Really brushes up against that cosmic coincidence control center area of interest But yeah, what did you think about the film Backrooms?
I liked it. I saw it in theaters. I think when it came out, it just happened to be when I was free, and it was packed. Lots of like teenagers, lots of, like I don't even know what, just like regular people. It felt like
Regular
a very
people.
regular people crowd, which is kind of cool to see at the movies.
Hell yeah.
And it was, I don't know, I really liked it. I've heard some very mixed things about it, but I thought that it was like extraordinarily well made. The sets were very cool. A lot of little Lynchian turns, as one might say about a film. And, the performances were good. It had a little bit of that, everything has to be about somebody's trauma that A24 seems incapable
Oh
of
my God.
shaking.
So true.
But, and, besides that, though, because
The
it's kind of
Trauma Studio.
like he had, I mean, I guess it was a different writer. Because if you watch the Kane Pixels series, there really isn't all that much character at all. It's often, I mean, it's all uh, found footage esque and sort of grainy to kind of conceal the fact that it's made in free software. And it's really beautiful, I think. But
And he's kind of
they
developing a little bit more of like a sci-fi, whereas the film is more allegorical of psychology, right? I mean,
very
you saw that,
it's
right?
very
I mean,
interested in psychoanalysis. Yeah, it felt like I saw someone talk about it being, having a little too much of the house style. And that's certainly true, but that didn't really impact my experience of it. I liked it a lot. I thought, the storyline that you needed to have to give it an emotional trajectory was, like we both said, a little in that house style. But I thought, you can't just necessarily have a blockbuster, style film without any emotional uh, trajectory at all. So, in that way it works.
yeah, people get attached to the
Yeah, and the
the
performances were good.
symbology of it too. I mean, you're reaching a wider audience if it's not just dealing in some sort of liminal. Check the books. Are we good on liminal? Has it been 5 years yet?
No, we can't say that. I mean, and now everyone's saying it because of
Yeah,
this movie, and it's kind of funny being in like
liminal's
the
out.
paranormal podcast zone where like liminal has been like basically cut out with scissors from the dictionary for
Hmm.
everybody because it's just got so used,
Yeah, it
and now
stinks.
it's kind of it's reached the civilian population, and
But yeah, it's interesting because I think that although I obviously understood that the purpose of the film was sort of moving back through the architecture of your mind into the trauma center and sort of working with these abstractions of how we catalog and uh, convert trauma into mental spaces or objects.
right.
All of that stuff, obviously, that's at the forefront of the film. But I think that our background sort of it's fun to look at it in terms of actual betwixt spaces and the potential of that, which I think kind of gets more into the synchronous activities.
Yeah.
But we've also done a lot of work on the show. If you're not familiar, we've done our own sort of let's call it ritualized experiments with random location generators, bibliomancy, and fooling around with things like Ouija boards, sound the alarms, and all of that business. But sort of building a kind of narrative superimposition on location, and considering things like novelty vortexes of certain places. Now, this gets into an interesting territory when we think about somebody like Ivan T. Sanderson, the great cryptozoologist, sort of paranormal investigator who wrote of vile vortices, which are kind of these sites of interdimensional transference. I think at a certain point, it at least for me personally, it didn't make sense to think of John Keel type quote unquote window areas as like, a literal hole in the fabric of our dimension that allows things to come through. But it's more that like we have these informational caches that are built upon each other. And when that happens, when you go to a place like that with intention, I think then we encounter these weird occurrences, these weird manifestations. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the film, it does kind of have that aspect of, the human element brings its own content to it. Uh, and I feel like there isn't, it's not ruled out that there might be some Fortean kind of influence on this film. Um, I mean, not to spoil it, but there is sort of a science fictional element toward the end. And if you look at the Backrooms series that he did on YouTube, it's very science fictional and has to do with like basically, pocket universes and, building these sort of infinite storage areas,
Yeah.
whether for people or objects or what, and
Real
kind of how
estate,
that,
which is kind of funny
yeah,
because it has
it's
that,
great. Yeah.
that capitalist bleakness to it,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
venture into the unknown.
Yeah. It is very, I mean, it's a company basically who discovers this kind of strange aspect of space that you can kind of build into, and then of course they start using it for real estate.
Yeah, yeah.
Is really, yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
And the lore, and I would say that's kind of my only critique of the film, which I did enjoy also, and I'm glad that it's had a great deal of success being a low budget horror, which is refreshing, and I'm sure that there will be some copycats that won't perform as well, and who knows. But yeah, it's cool to see.
It does feel like an auteur too, a little bit, doesn't it? It kind of feels like this. I mean, he's pretty young, I guess, but
Sure.
I mean, people have been working when they're 20 for, forever. But
Yeah. No, it's pretty great. But yeah,
feels
my
like
only
a style could develop. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I hope it does. My only critique of the film is kind of that it does rely on its own lore a little too much. And that's to say maybe it's the first in a series or something. And if that's the case, then I think it performs fine in that way. But it does sort of require a prerequisite. Like when I saw it in the theater, I saw a matinee. So there was us, me and my buddy, and an elderly couple behind us, and then a few sparse people. But of course, the elderly couple was like, I sat through an hour and a half for that shit. Which is, kind of like,
I don't really get that reaction at all. I saw some of that online too, of people being like, well, I thought, the movie ended and I thought it was just going to start. I'm like, but it seemed to have like a very traditional, like 3-act structure or something like that. Like it felt very arced and
is
and
kind of
easy.
missing,
So
and it was missing another piece for me to be like
I
a
don't get
complete
it.
movie. I don't know, but it had this, it was a zone film, right? Like much
Yeah,
like Stalker, Stalker obviously being a movie of a lot more caliber, but like a higher
okay.
caliber. But like
You don't
it's
have
it's
to. You
it's
don't
a,
have to like go after him like that.
it's just it's you're talking about what a masterpiece
No, I know.
versus
It's like, but it's kind of like being like listening to your music or something. Be like, yeah, well, it's no Beethoven.
okay, all right. Yes, I liked it anyway. You know what I'm saying though. It's a zone
Of
film,
course.
so like there's a lot of it that's left for interpretation, and some of the AI symbolism with the refracted figures,
Yeah.
figuration and stuff was interesting. And I like that it was just not a very direct commentary, but you got it when you saw it.
Right. You mean like the sort of wrong people where they're kind of incorrectly generated?
Yeah, just the uncanny valley that was.
And they're almost kind of like furniture too. They're very like, or like plant life, or like when they start eating the one thing, it's
Yeah, Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good.
yeah,
And it's like looks like sticky rice.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so what happened to me was I'm watching this movie, and when the character Phil comes on screen, Phil is
Is that
this.
Duplass?
Yeah, it's Mark Duplass of mumblecore fame. He did like the mumblecore film genre and was on some comedy television shows. In this film, he's like the lead scientist and cartographer of the Backrooms zone for a company called Async. When I saw him come on screen, I kind of got chills because it brought up like a very strange web of synchronous things. Now, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in New York with a good friend of mine, and we were doing some occult sightseeing. One of the spots that we went to was the apartment of which in 1918, Aleister Crowley famously performed his Amalantrah Working with the, I believe she was an artist of some sort, Roddie Minor. This was a series of sex magic rituals that also involved the consumption of certain substances, out of which comes Aleister Crowley's famous portrait of Lamb, who has the resemblance of the gray alien, much to be memeified and taken by his Aleister Crowley's disciple, Kenneth Grant, and made into a whole other thing. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this portrait. The portrait appeared in a show in Greenwich Village called the Dead Souls Exhibit, which was Aleister Crowley's show of original artwork. The Amalantrah Working consists of channeled conversations between Aleister Crowley and an apparent, wizard is what he refers to it as, which, brings up all of this prophetic stuff and sort of this guidance, but also weariness of Crowley. It's a really interesting and early piece of Aleister Crowley's history. In Greenwich Village, that's where the apartment is. Right at the end of the block of where that apartment is a traffic triangle in the old Jefferson Market. This area of New York is interesting because there used to be a creek that ran through Greenwich Village and cut right through the Jefferson, where the Jefferson Market was. Now that was called Minette or Manetta Creek, and the Lenape referred to that as being snake water, or the waters of an evil spirit, which is pretty interesting. So you're talking about that cachet of history that's building up. You have Aleister Crowley performing this massive ritual right there. You have the Jefferson Market, which is this incredible confluence of traffic now to this day, but has always been that way in New York. And before that, you have this creek of importance that was revered and also cautiously revered, I guess I would say, by the Lenape. Eugenia Macer-Story wrote about this area, the Jefferson Market, because she was at a Thanksgiving party and people were talking about seeing traffic disappear while standing in this traffic island.
Right.
Then there's all kinds of weird paranormal activity associated with it, which is, strange because it's a very busy area of New York. Anyway, me and my friend, we like to, as we do, we like to do a little legend tripping and visit these sites. Even if there's not much to see, I always feel that there's something interesting of just sort of being where this stuff had happened. So we visit this area, this traffic triangle in the middle of the two streets, and there's a lot of heavy foot traffic going on, and we just kind of sat at a little bench there for a while, and Mark Duplass walked through, and I was like, Oh, that's a celebrity. I know that guy because I recognized him from his other films and stuff like Creep or whatever.
Yeah.
And I pointed it out to my friend, and then we were kind of looking it up, and it was really funny. And then he walked through, he basically walked to the Jefferson Market and then came back through, which is kind of it's an interesting thing in the movie too, because it's like they talk about, in the Backrooms, a two-way street, and the fact that he came through twice was interesting. But I also just, the synchronicity of him being this character in the film, a cartographer of
Yeah.
an interdimensional gateway. And I have this synchronous experience with him while, sitting in one of those apparent real places written about at length by Eugenia Macer-Story. She wrote about it in the Borderlands Sciences Journal.
Right.
And she also wrote about it in the Captain Midnight Transmissions by Apport Editions. Interestingly enough, she also writes quite a bit about Burr and Hamilton
Right.
in this. And there's a sort of connection to, like, this is all about pirates. There's obviously a pirate
Yes.
theme in Backrooms. The Captain
That is
Midnight
true.
Transmissions is like using the pirate symbology, and Captain Midnight is her sort of spirit privateer who once was incarnated as the famous pirate Captain Kidd,
Yeah.
who she also believes incarnated as Thomas Jefferson. So that's kind of how she gets into this revolutionary backstory in here. What's interesting about that is after me and my friend were in the Jefferson Market Triangle, we visited the Dream House, which is kind of like a back room of New York in itself. If you're not familiar with this, it's the minimal sound and light installation in the financial district of the great minimalist composer Lamont Young and his partner, I believe her name is Marina Zazelia. It's an incredible space. There's no furniture in it. It's an empty room, and it's a light and sound installation. Definitely recommend visiting that when in New York. It's a beautiful reprieve from an otherwise cacophonous city environment. But after that, we went to Francis Tavern, which is the oldest operational tavern in New York, where one Adam Burr and Hamilton dined famously, which again synchronously connects to the Captain Midnight.
Yeah, very weird.
Transmissions. She compares the Jefferson Triangle Market to the vile vortices of Ivan Sanderson.
Right.
Sort of like a miniature Bermuda Triangle, like a smaller version of that type of transdimensionally thin kind of place.
Yeah. Actually, before I forget about it, let me add my little anecdote here that it kind of adds to the synchronicity. So, I've been archiving and collecting Eugenia's stuff for like almost 15 years, and finding any of it in the wild is not common.
Yeah, not at all.
And I was on,
It's totally very,
it's
very
gone, yeah.
rare. Yeah.
I was on this book hunting trip in Virginia, uh, early June, a couple days ago, and digging through this guy's annex, this book dealer's annex. It turns out he had bought a while ago, like years ago, the remnants of the collection of Israel Young's Folklore Center in New York, the place where Bob Dylan got his start, like correspondence, stuff like that. And the friend that I was looking through this spot for stuff with, I can't phrase that right. The friend I was with in this trip pulled something because he knows I always look for Eugenia stuff, and he was like, "Oh, this is signed Eugenia," and then he looked at the initials and was like, "Oh, never mind, it's not." And so he didn't show it to me. But then I was digging through the same stack a little later and pulled it. I was like, "Oh, that really looks like her signature." But it's, the initials are not EMS, they're EAM, which was her name before she was married. So she was Eugenia Ann Macer. And yeah, lo and behold, it's her. It's a typescript letter to Izzy Young of the Folklore Center, kind of saying like, "Hey, I'm still alive," because I guess maybe they were friends. I guess here are 3 poems. Hope everything's good. Like that was kind of the deal. And I wonder where because I know the Folklore Center is in Greenwich Village. It's just a very weird
I
coincidence,
know,
and
man.
something I would never find. It's something I really treasure now because her like she was involved in like the poetry and folk scene in the late 60s and like the protest movement, which is so strange given where she kind of went with the rest of her life after having her weird UFO lights experience in the 70s. And so like finding stuff from that period of her life is so uncommon. And yeah, to find it in the same kind of, I think like later that night you had texted me or something being like, I'm having all these weird synchronicities about Eugenia's like time cop theory or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it also reminds of John Lilly's Cosmic Coincidence Control Center as well. I mean, it's so interesting because I've always talked about on the show, how my own personal paranormal experiences have always manifested through synchronicity.
Yeah,
But
sure.
really weird, strange stuff, not, just like this. I mean, just real a strange web of like narrative is usually what unfolds for me. And I
Mm.
think that's kind of how I lean into this kind of stuff anyway. And what I'm looking to extrapolate often. But when we were in the Jefferson Market Triangle, it was kind of like, oh, this is cool. I mean, she wrote about something really weird happening here, which I could read about in a second. But we didn't see anything at the time. I was like, you see actors in New York often. I saw one other actor that day, interestingly enough, and it was the guy who plays the young cowboy in Westworld, which is kind of ironic too, because it's another show about an irreality or an unreal place, or
Yeah,
a
Dr. Fu Manchu
simulacra.
meets the Lonesome Cowboy.
Oh shit. That's one of Eugenia Macer-Story's favorite books, or one of our favorites of hers, rather. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, it's like it just kind of it affirms the importance of like getting out and visiting these places and just kind of like, you know, seeing what happens, like getting out into the
Totally.
world and like being in these spaces and just trying to experience stuff for yourself. Like, don't be, I'm not saying that you have to like turn on Randonautica and hop 6 fences to get to like the radio tower at Montauk or something, but like, I would say just, get out of the armchair modality a little bit. And that's kind of a call to myself too, like going to places and visiting these sites. It definitely activates stuff. A kind of real magic in the world, or at least enchanting your world.
Yeah.
However lame that sounds. But what she writes here is, as you may notice, dear reader, this section is still entitled Up from Pirate to Privateer, but we have added the tag Time Space Police, a little known factor in the Bermuda Triangle link to the futures of the Aaron Burr family is the location of the New York City Burr estate in an area of Manhattan's Greenwich Village, now adjacent to the high strangeness traffic intersection, site of daylight hauntings, troll-esque appearances, disappearances, and interdimensional walkouts written about by numerous students of occult curiosities, and also peripherally by this scribe, E. Macer-Story, in her 1993 article, The Jefferson Market Triangle. We say peripherally here because the area designated as the Jefferson Market Triangle is actually quite literally on the periphery of the 8th Street and Bleecker intersection with 6th Avenue, which actually was part of the Burr estate less than 2 centuries ago when Burr became concerned about the association of Alexander Hamilton with merchants of Barbados and therefrom with the bloodthirsty and wholly unprincipled pirates of Tripoli. Yeah, it's an incredible piece of writing, and as she does, like her work really crosses so many layers in making these really interesting connections, which is something that we always try and do on the show, and sometimes comes up naturally through travel or on-site investigation. But that's, deeply ingrained in her work, which is something I've always appreciated.
Yeah, she's big about that. She was always going places, and it's evident in her writing. It'll often be as simple as, I was interviewing this guy in the Poconos because he said he saw a UFO. Like, she would just go to meet these people and see where the event happened and kind of use her, I think, very legitimate psychic talents to get something out of it. And that's often like kind of the core of any given article of hers, is this like strange physical encounter. It's always very much in the world. It's not, there's a lot of theory in her writing and coming up with these bizarre cross currents, but it's almost always based on some real world encounter or coincidence or that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about that too, like a kind of disruption of the norm. I think that's what we were kind of doing in our own investigations long ago with all of this like randomized stuff and these kind of procedures that we were doing to generate random toponymy or I don't know, narrative webs or things, was a way of sort of obfuscating normal routing and getting to places that you wouldn't normally be. And I think when we did that really hard, we both ran into a sort of, we were kind of synchronized together in experiencing really strange phenomena of information in the world, things that were seemingly apporting or falling out of the sky, in a Fortean sense, and then going to locations and having these symbols be emergent and stuff. But I think we also kind of brushed up against a kind of time police of our own, which I always sort of referred to as a kind of like threshold guardian or something, which feels like when you're kind of enchanting place or investigating enchanted places, there is almost this like this psychic danger to it too. And I don't know if everybody feels that way, and maybe that's something to overcome, but it's definitely an interesting layer. I think for us, it kind of coincided with some near personal calamity as well.
Yeah. Something I've been thinking about is the Backrooms as metaphor for data centers.
Hell yeah. You love that, dude. You love the data.
People don't really
that's
know.
why you love Eddington so much.
I do love
Like the
Eddington,
freaking data centers coming.
Well, it's because they're kind to the public, they're kind of like black boxes where they're just like generating negativity. We don't really know what's, I mean, of course someone knows, but generally as a population, we don't really know what's going on inside them. We just know they're popping up, kind of like these obelisks kind of just appearing.
Okay. One more strange sync, and I'll bring it up just because you were on that. Right before the dream house and after I forget the order, but after Jefferson Market, right by the dream house, which I wanted to see, was the legendary 33 Howard building, the windowless skyscraper that's a massive NSA data center, which in itself feels like a sort of event horizon of information and novelty. I think that kind of feels to have acted as a sort of strange dark generator in this experience too, at least in the story of this web of synchronicity. Now, if you're not familiar with that building, people look it up.
Beautiful.
It's like it is a gorgeous piece of brutalist architecture and possibly the most menacing piece of architecture I've ever seen in my life. It reminds of, after the Roman Catholic Church decimated all of the Cathars in the Albigensian Crusade in the Middle Ages in Languedoc, France, southern France, which was Cathar country. They built a massive cathedral that looks like an impenetrable fortress, and this is kind of what the 33 Howard data skyscraper looks like.
It also looks like a, I don't even know what it looks like a weapon. It looks like a, I don't know. You know, like when they're talking about that kind of cliche at this point of how will we tell future civilizations that something is radioactive? And like they have to, like, because language won't be enough. They'll have to come up with a, if they just put that there, people would know not to go because it's radioactive. Um, yeah, very bizarre. 33 Howard. Um,
Strange stuff. I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you have more to say about Backrooms being about data centers and stuff? I think it is interesting.
I don't know if it's about it.
There's a
but
kind of kaleidoscopic whirlpool of our own information is being processed by machines. So it's kind of
exactly
not human categorically organized,
And like the subtle AI, like gestures within the film,
Yeah.
which I think are critiques, really, like pretty severe critiques, I think, of what that technology could do to people and art and memory and all of that. It feels like the movie's not about that, but it's certainly not pulling any punches.
It's baked in for sure.
And yeah, I just think that it's a funny, well, because, they're so of the moment right now. There's so much grassroots energy that we haven't really seen for, at least the last couple of years, in this sort of anti-data center movement, which is so ridiculous to say, but is true. Like, people are going to council meetings, which is crazy, all across the country. So I don't know. There's definitely resistance to the AI stuff, which I think is interesting. It's not because for like a couple months, it kind of felt like, we were really against the ropes with that, and it was kind of going to be totally accepted, and things might get pretty strange. And it still will, but it does feel like there is some, resistance to it, mostly because people think the data centers are going to be like surveillance system centers. Like, I see that a lot.
Ecological disasters, or, fucking with their power bills or the water.
Well, it's going to be loud too. And the electric bills. Yeah, you got to hit people in the wallet, I guess. But
yeah.
You definitely see a lot, just like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you see a lot of people being like, these are just going to be like storing all of our information and using it to surveil us and all that. And yeah, that's absolutely true, I think. Of course, the AI generative stuff takes a lot of energy and processing power. So I'm sure that's what it'll be used for to some extent. But I'm not out on the idea that they're kind of creeping a total surveillance situation.
Sure. Yeah.
Into the infrastructure there.
Of course. I mean,
it's already here, but
you're not,
better.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the information's out on that. I don't need to politicize on. I don't need to get up on the soapbox about all that.
No, it's not.
No,
even
I know.
It's
I'm just saying, like, it.
Interesting.
Period on that, I guess.
So who are you voting for?
Yeah. There's an election. We got a UFC match going down on the White House lawn, brother.
USB
match.
USB match. I'll tell you, I'm looking around for the right USB cord, and I can't find it because I don't have a USB match. USB match. I'm looking through my junk drawer looking for the right.
Are you
charger,
rapping right now? What
one.
are you doing? You sound like you were about to. That did not sound like the front end of a joke. It sounded like some backpack rap was about to go down or something.
No. If I ever start rapping, it's time to wheel me into the data center.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Shove you through the mail slot.
Yeah. Um,
I just started the Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, and he mentions getting into a 33 building in it, which is kind of
huh.
interesting. I wonder if he would, like, back then it would have been the AT&T Long Lines building. I don't know if the book would have been out on that, or if it would have even mattered. I think it was constructed in the 70s, though.
Is there a book about that building?
I just mean the
No, I know,
proverbial
but
book,
wouldn't that
but
be? I feel like there should be.
well, I don't think many people knew what it was, but now it's all, it's been on like Mr. Robot and shit. I
Yeah,
think it was
Little Mr. Robot.
the center of a Mr. Robot plot.
Uh,
I didn't see that
yeah.
show, so I don't really know. I'm
I
sorry
don't
if
think I
I'm
saw it. I saw like one episode.
butchering bot. Let me know if I should
Someday.
subscribe, and let me know if I should watch Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot. Yeah.
Weird stuff. I mean, this is our story with Backrooms. Like I said, there's 100 other YouTube guys with their face on the camera who can tell you about the lore. And
I just
all
watched
of that
his other
business.
series. The Oldest View, I think it's called.
Oh shit!
It's really good. It's really crazy. Uh, I recommend that. I think that he's pretty good. I
Yeah,
was,
he's
I
how old?
was,
He's how old now?
I guess he's 20.
That's fucking crazy. Good for him.
I was, not sold. And then I saw the movie and I was like everybody else was like, there's no way. And then I kind of watched an interview with him and I was like, oh, yeah, he definitely, he's fucking tuned in.
You know what? Kudos to them too for not injecting any reactionary socio-political stuff into it and letting it just be its own film. Because I
Yeah, and
feel
it
like
is pretty set in the 90s too. Like it has that feel.
yeah, I mean like that's obviously I'm not saying that like it's a faux pas to have political commentary or something, but also like it almost felt like
Mm.
everything has to have some element of it that dates everything immediately. And it's
Yeah, that's been a
refreshing to see
problem.
something that just kind of stands on its own and is its own story.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, like we were saying, there is kind of the everything can be traced back to some childhood or relationship trauma. And I think that's kind of it's not something that movies have always done, and it's not something they have to do to be good. I feel like people are forgetting that. Like, not every like artful film has to have an easy origin for the character's motivations, because people are not unilaterally, unidirectionally motivated. I don't know. They're not. Nobody has like a villain origin story, and so
It,
that's kind of my problem with all of these is that everything's this one-to-one like metaphor. I
isn't
think
that
this one handled
interesting
it
though? How
better.
that like draws from the most famous American horror writer and Stephen King.
It's certainly, well, he's kind of a Dickensian, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's like a very, I don't know. He's a very conservative writer in a lot of ways.
I just mean like thematically, there's often that
Yeah,
like traumatic
totally.
metaphor. Yeah,
He's obsessed with childhood and with the problems of that kind of lack of power or whatever it might be.
mm, mm.
Um, Having read, some Stephen King, of course, like The Shining is about alcoholism, but really it's about being the child of an alcoholic, I guess.
I mean Cujo as well, and it. I
Yeah,
mean, like yeah,
yeah.
and so
Um,
on. They're all kind of these metaphors.
I do think he's good though.
Yeah,
He's got some hits.
for sure. Obviously,
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to poo-poo him because he's so huge, but I think he's,
Moses.
yeah, yeah.
What else is going on with you as we bow out a little bit? This is a fun
Oh,
public little episode here, but what else you got
yeah.
cooking?
Because of the pirate aspect of Backrooms, I went back to visit another creepypasta-based cinematic piece, which is the first season
Would you
of
go to one of
Channel
those
Zero.
damn it. I didn't get it in.
What?
I was going to say, would you go to one of those classic Pizza Huts?
No.
Creepy pasta. Get it?
I went to, yeah, I get it.
All right.
Yeah, the first season is a
Workshop
adaptation of, what is it, Candle Cove? Which is like the fake children's show that people wrote about seeing with like, yeah. I hope that I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah,
but
you
that
love
feels
that
like
Channel
that was kind
Zero.
of
Yeah.
I love Channel Zero. Yeah, it's basically about a remembered but never officially acknowledged, the kind of public access style children's show with puppets and, pirate puppets, and it having like strange effects on the people who saw it in memory and in their lives. And the miniseries adaptation is, as it has to be, more of like a narrative study of basically these themes we've been talking about. But I really like that series. R.I.P. But
How many
Backrooms
seasons?
really made me think of it. Only 4.
4.
Season 3 is my favorite, but season 1's quite good too. Backrooms really made me think of that show, and it feels like continuing that spirit, not just in the fact that it's adapting a sort of liminally IP specific piece of media. Like it doesn't really belong to any one person, although it does. Like they do give credit to like the person who wrote the original post and all of that kind of stuff, which makes the creepypasta adaptation stuff so interesting. Is that in some ways you're kind of just adapting a collective folk tale. In the Backrooms situation, of course, it's really based on Kane Parsons' interpretation of the Backrooms stuff, but he took it from, a 4chan post, and other people did their own rendition. So it's almost like an anti-Marvel kind of situation where you're dealing with intellectual property to some extent, but it's really more like adding to a folklore. And I think it's a better way to do supernatural film than like paying $300 million to get Batman to do something,
I think in that way, it kind of, it creates it creates a sort of magic to it, not to put myself at stage front, but like this synchronicities and stuff, I think is because it is this, like, it's become this cultural object, that people project their own intention into. It's more than just a movie because it's this cultural artifact, a folkloric object, if you will. Other than that, I've been on some serious unk behavior, just watching all the, I got the Universal Monsters box set, so I've been watching all the Universal Monsters movies. Man, that shit rocks. Let's bow out. Thanks for listening to this edition of Consensus Unreality. Check out patreon.com/consensusunreality for our 2 exclusive episodes a month, our printed journal of shells and all that business. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll catch you next week. That's a wrap. Put it in the back room. Cool. Out on the back room. Back room. Back streets.